Greetings, Professor, colleagues, and current or former viewers. My name is Dwight Williams. Today, I will be talking about initiatives and referendums and its impact on the Arizona state constitution. Hopefully, today I will discuss 5 topics such as what are simply initiatives and referendums. Also, I will hopefully professionally compare and contrast both, along with providing some pros and cons for each of those as well. And I'm going to shortly discuss how they were both created. And last but not least, we're going to also discuss what we call direct democracy on the Arizona Constitution. With that being said, just to keep it on a simpler level, initiatives allow for citizen based driven proposals to bypass the state legislator. Um, each state does it differently, but that is just how it generally works, just to keep it simple. Referendums require a general vote of the electorate or the elector of a single political question that is given to the citizens, typically through the ballot polls. Uh, Now, to expand on this, uh, after Arizona became a state, it drafted numerous articles into the Arizona Constitution. I'm going to focus primarily on Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution. This is the beginning aspect, or what they call Part 1, according to the Arizona state constitution, where it talks about initiatives and referendums and how it affects their state or the state of Arizona for those who do reside in that state. Um, Throughout this conversation, you'll hear me use the words such as initiative measures, or you may even hear me use the word referendum measures. When I say those, the initiative measures are designed for the initiatives, and the referendum uh, one is for the referendums. Um, According to the Arizona state constitution, this initiative allows for the citizens to have uh, some form of political power and to protect their freedom and liberties as individuals. So uh, the initiative powers allow for a qualified elector to make proposals to any measure of the law or to change the law, and or just to use an academic term, to make amendments to the state constitution. Whereas with referendums, they're used in an emergency situation. It's more of an emergency power that is allowed by qualified electors to submit items um, to the voting polls. Once again, um, these might be political questions that are on the measures that the people in an emergency situation, um, electors can submit to them. Now, with that being said, when it comes to referendums, there's usually a at least a 90-day waiting limit. The exception is allowed in the case of if it specifically states why um, this measure must be done, and it must at least receive 2/3 of the members of approval of the electoral approval in the state of Arizona. Um, with that being said, the state of Arizona allows for the governor to veto, similar to United States Constitution. The president could veto using their executive power. Well, in the state of Arizona, the governor could also veto uh, a measure as well. Now, with that being said, in the state of Arizona, if three-fourths of both household members approve the measure or the referendum, then um, it becomes law. In my opinion, I think that could be good in some aspects, depending on your political views, and for some people, they might view that as a con as well. Um, Certain states, the governor might have extra power, um, but like I said, we're going to focus on the state of Arizona, where initiatives and referendums are designed once again to protect individual rights and freedoms. Also, now with the initiatives, uh, initiatives must be at least, according to my notes, submitted 4 months or later to the Secretary of State, um, and according to the electing date. Now, this is the same for referendums as well. Uh, Both must be submitted through uh, the Secretary of State in the according to the Arizona Constitution. So that is one thing that they do both share. Um, Now with the referendums, the Secretary of State has less than 90 days after the final session of that legislation date of the approval of the measure. Um, I think one of the cons of that rule is that any item, any section of that measure does not stop it from becoming operative. Um, now with now One thing that I think is a pro is how the Arizona state constitution uh, references how they're going to do their effective dates. So when things become law, no, the effective dates of laws are approved or become in effect when the governor and majority of the electoral approves it. But like I said, a governor can veto certain measures, but it does not go beyond the limits or the referendum approval. Um, Also, with these initiatives and referendums, uh, they also allow for um, things to be repealed. Um, Now, in the state of Arizona, legislators do not have the authority to change any of the initiatives or referendums measures without approval of three-fourths of both houses. And one thing that I may have forgotten to mention earlier, I hope I did not, but one of the things that initiatives and referendums do, it requires signature of the residents or the people or the citizens for these initiatives and measures as well. Usually, according to the Arizona Constitution, a lot of this is based off the size of your city, county, or state uh, population. Um, and we'll discuss that aspect of it later on in the discussion. Also, a thing that I think is a pro, according to the state of Arizona Constitution, is when it comes to diverting any funds, legislators cannot spend or take any of the money for any new creation for any specific initiatives or referendums measures. Once again, without three-fourths approval of both houses as well uh, in the state Congress, and these are once again done by qualified electors. Um, when I was reviewing the Arizona State Constitution, uh, one of the things I realized is just similar to the United States Constitution. They did put an age restriction on there, and the state of Arizona, if a person meets the age of 25, that is one of the requirements. So anyone 24 or younger uh, does not qualify to be a elector, and that's for city, county, or state officials. Now, in regards to the last aspect of the direct democracy, I pulled up few examples of kind of how this worked, focusing on kind of like Article 7, Section 10. As a small example, and pretty much legislator is the legislator is able to enact direct uh, primary election laws for all elective positions. Once again, each state does that differently. In the state of Arizona, this applies to city, county, and municipals and state officials as well. Um, One of the things that I thought was definitely interesting that I learned when I was examining the Arizona State Constitution was how, with the direct democracy, uh, it allows for a person who has a no party preference to still participate in the general election of one political party. So that just shows you another example of how the Arizona State Constitution, once again, was designed to protect individuals' rights or freedoms, especially in the area of voting. Um, One of the aspects that I interpreted the direct democracy was another way that it tries to prevent private, or what some may view as corporate entities, to have an influence on the legislative assembly input. Um, but what I found also interesting was that during the term of Governor Brewer, um, that the state of Arizona passed a educational sales tax, but voters were able to stop an initiative from being the sales tax from being permanent through an initiative. Um, I thought that was kind of interesting how um, the people were able to have their say politically uh, in a swift moment. Um, Now, one thing with the direct democracy, it also allows the ability to recall state officials and electors. But according to the Arizona State Constitution, second edition, written by Tony and Thomas McClory, um, it stated that in the state of Arizona, although no legislator has been recalled, it would be easier to recall legislators instead of the state officials due to the fact that there are many towns or cities in Arizona that may have a low population. Um, and I thought that was kind of interesting to learn about. Um, with that being said, this concludes my edition of discussing initiatives and referendums according to the Arizona State Constitution. And I hope you learned something very impactful. And on a further note, I suggest no matter where you live, Arizona or elsewhere, that you just take time to look at your state constitution as well. And may y'all all have a wonderful and blessed night.